If you want to stand out in your niche, get clients consistently, and become freaking unstoppable in today's market, I'm going to walk you through three things that you got to implement. In fact, these are three layers of influence, and I'm going to show you how to install these into your life, into your business, into your operating system so you could see more growth, so you could tap in to your freaking potential. Now, there's a reason why there is a top 5% in any industry and a bottom 95%. And you can look at this in terms of business, with athletes, with musicians, with really anybody. And I've been obsessed over the last 15 years. And, I built a gym in South Florida to over 300 members. We franchised it. I sold it. I built an online fitness business. I've been in the marketing consulting space, helping everybody from people just getting started with their businesses and the brands to multiple 7, 8, and 9-figure businesses. And I've been obsessed with this question: what makes the top 5%? Like, when I had businesses fail, when I went years trying to get on American Ninja Warrior and it was failing, and I eventually got on, which is a very top 5% activity. And I was always curious, like, why? Why do some business owners, why do some athletes, why do some musicians be able to succeed and kind of hit the big time, if you will? And why do most others, that 95%, stay complacent, stay kind of chugging along, stay very ordinary, and not even closely scratching the surface on what is possible for them? And I've been able to come up with this conclusion of there are three layers of influence that, if we apply, if we quote unquote install into how we operate, how we show up, it allows us to be able to see that growth. And in terms of business, the top 5% per chat GPT, I looked up the statistics, it's around 250,000. So if you want to be in the top 5% of all business owners in the entire, at least the United States, and I'm sure this, statistically, if I could say that word, in the world, it's around $250,000 take home income. And there's a top 1.1%. But let's talk about the top 5%. Let's get you there. And so the first layer of influence is going to be, you have to influence yourself. There are so many outside things that are influencing most people. For one, there's this device and all of the things that come with it, especially social media, to where if you're letting social media influence your behaviors, your thoughts, and a lot of this may be happening subconsciously, you don't even realize it. And until you become aware, nothing can change. Most people are influenced by what's on their feed. Maybe there's comparison. Maybe it's influencing a behavior or an action, or they're influenced by the news, or they're influenced by their clients, right? Or their prospects. Somebody complains and it influences a behavior. And until that you could take control of your own beliefs, choosing what beliefs am I going to get rid of that aren't serving me, and what beliefs am I going to install that are going to allow me to become the person I need to become. There's a reason why there's a be, do, have formula. You have to become that person. And so what are the beliefs that you need to get rid of that are influencing you to have thoughts that are influencing certain behaviors and actions that aren't getting you the results? And what beliefs do you need to install that are going to allow you to have the thinking to take the actions that you need to take? Okay? Because that's where it all starts. And so until you can learn to influence your behaviors, your habits, and your actions, you're not going to change your results. And once you learn how to do this, you are now going to be in control of the results that you get. You are going to be the cause of the effects that you now get in your life. So the first step is influencing yourself. Put yourself in the right environments, be able to control the beliefs that you have, and control the behaviors, the actions, and the habits that you have in your life. The second layer of influencing is influencing others. And the way to do this is through a compelling message. You have to learn how to communicate your message in a way that connects with your avatar, the person that you are trying to serve, the person that you are trying to get into your product, your service, your program. And in order to connect with them, you have to deeply resonate. You have to know how to enter the narrative that's going on in their head. There's I believe it's Dan Kennedy, famous marketer, who says, enter the conversation going on in your customer's head. You have to know how to do that. And I want you to imagine if you were walking around with a video camera filming everything that your ideal client was doing, and this video camera can also read their minds. What's going on? You have to know how to connect with them on that level so that you actually resonate with them. And that's what's going to help them see you as the obvious choice because you know how to speak to them. And then you have to know how to captivate people, how to emotionally hook them in, how to be able to shift their beliefs, how to get them to see things differently, to shift their perspectives, to tell great stories, right? To be able to literally emotionally hook people in. And until you can do that, it's going to be really tough to be able to move people forward. And then you have to know how to convert people. You have to know how to communicate call to actions that are going to influence people to take actions, that are going to get people to respond when you have maybe a post out with a CTA or an ad out or anything in your marketing that gets people to say, I'm going to take action on this. And until you could do that, it's going to be really hard for you to get people into your product, into your program, into your service, whatever you're selling. And so being able to communicate a compelling message is the second layer of influence. And then the third is going to be influencing change in your business, influencing growth in your business. And in order to do that, you have to build the right skills and install the right systems. If you think about any business, it's going to be the growth of your business is going to be in direct correlation to the growth of the entrepreneur running it. And so if you as the entrepreneur have like limited skills, your business is going to hit a ceiling. But imagine you start to develop the skills of writing compelling copy. You know how to write headlines and hooks and titles that actually work, that resonate with people, that are specific, that get people to want to stop the scroll, and click or read or watch or whatever. And you know how to tell stories in a way that is freaking powerful, that's compelling, that gets people to say, I got to keep listening. And you know how to, drop call to actions that get people to say, I'm going to raise my hand. I'm going to respond. I'm interested. Right? When you know how to speak, when you learn how to communicate and speak in a compelling way that makes people feel something emotionally, that gets people to move forward. When you can learn how to sell. If you could sell something high ticket to a stranger, you're going to be set for life, my friend. That is a friggin' money-making skill that will never go out of style. When you know how to, coach and deliver life-changing transformations, when you know how to, and again, this is all a skill. When you know how to lead and delegate, creating simple SOPs that you can hand off work to people, you're going to stop being the bottleneck in your company. So these are all skills. And there's many more, of course, right? When you learn how to install the right systems, right? All businesses, whether it's brick and mortar, service-based, coaching, online, doesn't matter. There's 5 core functions, 5 core systems in a business. There's lead generation. You need to know how to generate consistent leads. There's lead nurture. You need to know how to warm leads up, how to build that know, like, and trust, how to truly give value and nurture them, through a funnel, through a process. Conversion. You need to know how to convert people consistently at a decent close rate. There's delivery and fulfillment. You need to learn how to fulfill to people so they're like, I'm freaking happy. Thank you for the service. And they get the result that they paid you for. You need to know how to retain people, how to resell, how to upsell, how to get referrals, so that way you can keep people long-term and build a monthly recurring revenue. When you have these skills and when you have these systems in place, this allows you to influence change and growth in your business. Otherwise, you're just left to hoping and praying. And believe me, I've been there too. Like, I went through, I would say when I built my gym, I knew nothing. I was a firefighter, retired. I was working odd jobs, working in personal training, at a big box gym. I knew nothing. And so when I went into starting to build my gym, it was like my dojo. A lot of pain and suffering. And I remember my way of trying to generate leads was going out to like local, like shopping plazas, and I was like handing out cards. And one day I had this like big guy, like just like looked like The Rock. It wasn't The Rock. Dwayne, if you're watching this, what's up, man? But he hit me all these cards that I was like these flyers out of my hand. It was like, nobody wants these. I was like, but Like that's what was my lead. And until I learned how to actually start to speak, I started to go to speaking events. Then I started to learn how to run ads and post content and see all of these skills compounded, and it allowed me to start generating consistent leads. And then I had to learn all of these different things of how do I fulfill, and then and that's what led us to be able to build a gym to 300 members. And then I took these skills and I was able to build an online fitness business with this. Do you see how this works? And so until you do this, you're going to be left to hoping and praying things work. And this is why there's more people that are in the 95% than there are in the 5%, because most people don't want to take the time to actually learn this stuff. And so if you can learn to influence yourself and stop allowing your environment, stop allowing your old limiting beliefs and thoughts, for the love of all things holy, man, stop allowing your phone and social media and all of these outside things influence you, influence your beliefs, influence your actions, influence your feelings, influencing all the shit that you do. It's keeping you stuck. Like freaking, like either delete your apps, or there's something that I call, it's called a dumb phone app. I have no affiliation with them, but it's like it's a little app on here, and it's called a dumb phone, and you can put like a detox on here to where you can like literally lock all of your social media apps if you have a problem, and that right like let alone will change your life. And then obviously there's practice, maybe not obvious, but there are practices that you could put in place to really help yourself kind of like mentally keep yourself even keel, right? To where you're not reacting constantly, but you're operating more from your prefrontal cortex. And when you could do this, you could be in control of your own beliefs, thoughts, behaviors, actions, and this is going to allow you to be in control of your results. Then we talked about influencing others. And the best way to be able to influence others is know how to communicate your message in a way that connects with people, that captivates them, right? Emotionally hooks them in, and that ultimately converts them, influences them to take action. And then influencing change in your business, influencing growth in your business by building the skills that you as the entrepreneur need to continue to raise the ceiling of what's possible for you, and being able to put the right systems in place so you have that consistency and you have that predictability. And by the way, you don't need to be able to influence hundreds of thousands to millions of people. Perhaps that happens to you. Like maybe you start to snowball and you do become that top 1% or that top 0.01%. And you're influencing millions, you're making, multi-millions, or even become a billionaire. Maybe that does happen to you. But if you want to be in that top 5%, you want to make $500,000 a year, $250,000, $500,000, maybe $1 million a year, whatever your desires are, and you just kind of want to be in that, that top 1 to 5%, man, 1,000 true fans is all you really need. That's a whole nother topic. I've done videos and episodes on that before. But Kevin Kelly, wrote an article on this years ago about musicians and artists and people that were selling like music and art and such, that all they needed was 1,000 true fans to make a living with their art. As especially if you're selling something more medium or high ticket, can you imagine if you were able to influence 1,000 people? You had 1,000 true fans, like your business would be making $1 million, like easily. And so stop focusing on the vanity. Stop being influenced on comparison and thinking that you need like people to like me and you need all these followers and all of this stuff. That can come over time, but really focusing on how can I influence my sub niche? How can I just truly stand out in my sub niche and influence a small group of people and show up and be able to serve people? And that's how you're going to make really good money. And that's how you're going to start seeing this compound. So the 3 layers of influence, I hope you found them helpful. Make sure to click subscribe if you did find this helpful, and leave a comment down below. I would love to know. As always, get out there, change some lives, make some money. Peace.